Hey, hi there. I don't know who Freddie Boom Boom Washington is, so I probably didn't didn't nail the impersonation because I'm terrible at them anyway. Good morning. What is up? Welcome to Hobby Evolution. Where are we at? Episode 631, Card Show Review Day, and I'm excited for this one because I was wrong. I was wrong times two on this. Good morning, Jenny. Uncle Rich in the house. Good morning. Madison Card Show yesterday. Before I get into Card Show talk, I have like a splitting headache. I think it's a combination of poor sleep, probably a few of the spotted cows I had last night, and the humidity yesterday. Oh, the humidity is much better today. But we had a storm front roll in. Actually, the storm front rolled in like just as Dan, Korean Cardboard, and I got in the car and drove off from downtown Madison from our late lunch, early dinner at the Old Fashioned in downtown Madison. And boy, did the skies unleash some heavy rainfall. I always say I want rain during a card show, but I just like the soft little raindrops. Thankfully, the big storms rolled in, a couple hours after the show, so we didn't have to. Because it was raining so hard. I was hydroplaning driving home. And it was hard to see. People had their like flashers on because it was hard to see. That's how hard the rain was falling. DR, what is up, Dan? Good morning. I went to the Topps David Adams store in Cooperstown, and it was nice. Very cool. Dan's trip to Cooperstown, good to hear. Herman says, can't stay long sitting at the lake with the family. Very nice. Enjoy that. Tracy, good Sunday morning to you. Sean in the house. Sean from Kansas City was a dealer at the show yesterday. He says, I think this notification for the show was my alarm clock this morning. Good show. Awesome. Good to hear. So yeah, Madison Card Show yesterday. I was shocked at the turn. There's Dan. What's up, Dan? Hey all, yes, drove through hard rain for a bit, about to go to breakfast with friends. A great pleasure meeting Bo. Awesome. Likewise, Dan was able to shop around. He talked to my guys at 5 Star with doing some submissions. I need to write some things down because there's as I sat down to type things, I'm like, oh yeah. Did this, and this. So okay, I'm going to write just some things so to make sure I don't forget. Let's see. Rich says, FYI, our buddy Wake and Break, or whatever his trade name is, was the featured player in the first video of the second season of the Burbank Card Show. Oh, that's cool. I need to watch that. I have not watched that. And I feel guilty because Rob is like my idol. That's like, I strive to be a small percent of what Rob has built in the Burbank Empire. And so I feel guilty not watching that show. Rich says he bought 2.3 million cards from Rob, so we are all laggards. That one purchase equals like my entire basement. Love the name Wake and Break. The Break's in the house. What is up? Rich says his dad is even better. Let's see, made me read it twice. So Madison Card Show. I'm learning 5 Goodwill purchases in one shot, right? Zach and Porter, what's up? So I'm learning efficiency more and more. And I think Dan asked in a recent episode in the chat about, and I can't remember how he asked the question, but it was basically like, is it easier, now than it was a year ago to run the show, essentially? And it is big time. And I'm learning more ways to become efficient. And, the prepay for first timers was huge. I will continue that moving forward. And basically the whole, like, as I've built up, and I think there were 70 total vendors yesterday, ended up being 122 tables, 122 tables and 70, maybe 67, 68 different dealers. So when I don't collect until the end of the show, and I know it varies, I've had various conversations, like every show I've ever done, with the exception of one show, and that was because I was a first-time vendor. It's always just pay whenever, like pay before, usually the promoter comes at the end of the show to collect, but it's kind of like a pay whenever. So now actually running a show, when I, and again, there's only been, out of all the shows I've done, Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, it's always, basically pay at the end of the show. With the exception of one show, Schaumburg, I was a first-time dealer. They asked for a deposit, and of like, I think my tables were $70 or $80, and they asked for 30, and I'm like, I'm just going to pay it all. Let's just pay it all and not have to worry about it. And now running a show, I realize when I set up at other shows, it's like, we're just going to get this taken care of up front. I don't have to remember. You don't have to come chase me down. So it's really, I need to be more proactive with like some of some of my regulars, like they come find me. But it's like some forget. And so I just need to be more proactive and just collecting that, from a majority, not all, but from some. Because what happens is by 1:00, when you have 50 vendors still to collect money from, there's always a conversation. It's not like I just go up and say, hey, I want your money and walk away. There's usually like, hey, how'd you do? Some vendors talk more. And all of a sudden it's like, crap, I've got to get downstairs. Crap, I've got to get upstairs. So that's one thing I'm learning to trying to do better, just for my own peace of mind to collect up front. Steven's Cards in the house. What's up? Good morning. Dan says, I forgot to leave you my racks for others. I realized that. I did realize that when I got home, I listed some of the cards I pulled out of the dollar boxes, which I'll get into. Let's see. Write that down so I don't forget that part either. Because I pulled some stuff out, and then I thought, oh yeah, I'm like, I can just, combine this with what I already have with Dan's stuff and send this off. And then I realized, oh, I don't think he gave me those cards. Let's see. Ken in the house. What's up, Ken? Let's see. Paul Carl Cards. Good morning to you. Turkey Cards in the house. Let's see. Where are we at? Jenny says, I'm working on my first COM-C submission, expanding my way of selling my thick cards, non-ESE. That's a good thing. Good way to utilize COM-C with those thick cards that, it's like, I don't want to, charge $5 and ship in a bubble mailer for $1 card, but you can't ship them PWE. Ken says, in the drive-through and had to turn down the volume on Bo because Easy Lover came on the radio. Decisions were made. I'm okay with that. I'd go back to their tables in 2 hours and collect the rest. Let's see. I predict you will do swimmingly on there. About COM-C. Coffee and Cards. Good morning, Striker Breaks. Delicious coffee. Rich says, why, Bo. So speaking of coffee, let's talk some annoyances this morning. And then I'll get to all the fun stuff. So the morning didn't start. The morning started great. And now my voice is going hoarse. The morning started great yesterday because the room at the Sheraton was set up so well. And I was able to, and I didn't take any. The issues I had Thursday and Friday was I overbooked, expecting late cancellations. And so what happened, I guess I didn't share this because it was Friday afternoon, didn't do a show live yesterday. So Friday afternoon, I'm at the Sheraton, and I haven't taken any cancellations, and I overbooked. And, for my buddy Mark, I was, texting him, and I'm like, on Thursday night, and I'm like, man, I'm overbooked. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But then I said, last month I was 5 overbooked on Friday morning, but by Saturday morning I had 6 open tables at the show. But that didn't happen. Fortunately, that didn't happen. That's actually a good thing that I was in this predicament. So Friday afternoon, I'm at the hotel, and the issue is, I have dealers that are main room dealers, and then there's always some open spots, and I move, bring some people up and move some in. But there's like one table spots, there's the regulars have their tables. They're there every single month, and they've been with me for, if not the entire run, most of the run of the Madison Card Show. So they have their spots. So then sometimes that leaves an opening of one table here or 2 tables there. So it's kind of like it's putting a puzzle together. So I have these puzzle pieces, and I'm like, I had one regular that wasn't responding, and it's like, okay, if I don't hear from him by the time I'm at the hotel on Friday, he's out, and I'll put somebody in that spot, which happened, and he didn't show up. So apparently he's out of the show. Because he didn't respond to 2 of my texts, my Facebook message, and that's how we've always communicated. So, but anyway, it came down to, I have a guy that's in the down, and I have a dealer that has 6 tables downstairs. So he was the first one I reached out to say, hey, is it cool if I take away one of your tables? And he was cool with that, and it actually worked out. At the end of the show, I'm like, hey man, thanks again for working with me on this. And he's like, no, it worked out great because I didn't have enough stuff to fill the 6th table. So it actually was perfect. So I was able to move that in. And then Sean, actually, who was just in the chat, I asked him on Friday, I'm like, hey man, because I had one spot that I needed to fill in the main room because one of the vendors is in the main room, and I needed a spot. Sean had 3 tables, and I'm like, Sean, is there any way you could go down to 2 tables? And I figured I knew Sean would be a great sport. He was. So thank you again, Sean, for working with me on that. So I was able to fit that in. Then Saturday morning comes along. So we'll talk with, the morning starts out great Saturday morning, because Sean and Cordell worked with me. Boom, I'm completely sold out. I even had Eric, who's got he's got a really nice Hank Aaron rookie in his showcase. He's got some vintage wax, and he's like, hey, can you get me in? I'll bring my own table, pay the table spot, just squeeze me in somewhere. And I'm like, I think I can make room in the hallway. And it actually worked out perfect. So I've got everybody in. And then Saturday morning, so I've got all my stuff. Friday night, Friday was our anniversary. My wife and I went out to our favorite sushi place, to Kara in downtown Middleton. My wife gave me a 6-pack of Spotted Cow and a blaster box of Top Series 2, which I haven't even opened any Series 2, so I'm excited. I'll do a break. I'll do a video with that. Haven't opened it yet. So we go to have our sushi. Afterwards, I load up my car with all the signage and all that stuff. So I'm feeling good Saturday morning. I'm way early. Like I'm running early, which ended up being a good thing. And I stop at Dunkin'. Go to Dunkin', get my Dunkin' coffee, my large coffee with the sausage, egg, and cheese on croissant. And so I hadn't had my coffee yet, because that's what I went to Dunkin' for. And I get my stuff, put it down, not even realizing it, drive away. I ordered a large. They gave me a small. Damn it. It actually works out, because I typically don't end up finishing my coffee. I should probably just skip Dunkin' and get breakfast at the hotel. But then if I do that next month, it's like the breakfast isn't open at the hotel. So anyway, I get my small coffee. That's not even the worst of it. So I'm taking a couple sips of my coffee on the Beltline on the way to John Nolan Drive. There you go. Take a drink. And I pull into the parking lot. Parking lot's jam-packed. I guess the hotel, the venue had a couple weddings that weekend. I don't think the fair really affected it. The Dane County Fair was across the street, didn't really affect it. But so I pull in, eat my sandwich, and then I realized I've got a couple drip. I wore a white polo. Mistake number one. Notice I had a couple coffee stains from my Dunkin'. Like, damn it. This isn't a good look. So I'm like, I'm just going to roll with it. Take another drink of coffee. Guess what? Now I look like a flippin' slob. Okay. It's 12 minutes from the hotel to my house. It's only like 5:45. I've got plenty of time. So I zoom back home, change shirts. And the polo that I grabbed that happened to be like downstairs drying has like a rip, because I told my wife this story when I got home yesterday. And she's like, well, it's not exactly, a very nice looking polo you're wearing. She's like, we need to go shopping, which I hate shopping. So that was how the morning started. And then as this was all going on, I get a text from a vendor, had some storms roll through. He can't make the show. Now, crap. But it's like 6 a.m. I've got one guy, Jason. Thank you so much. I don't know if he watches the show or he's watching this, but thank you so much. He had reached out multiple times, but I had been sold out. And he had even messaged me Friday night, and he's like, hey, just checking in. Any late cancellations? I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm like, I was overbooked. I actually had to take tables away from a couple vendors just to fit everybody in. But let's see. I just had okay. My computer wanted to restart. So he met on Friday night. He messaged. He's like, I'm up early, and if you get any morning cancellations, I'll be there. I'm like, okay. So he's my first call. So reach out to him. I'm like, hey, I just took a cancel, 2 tables. You want them? He's like, I'll be there. And he was. Jason, star of the day. So we got them all filled, and another guy had a table upstairs, and he's like, David, and he's like, I've got a table, I need a little more space. Can I bring a table up and, pay an extra $30? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I think that 122 tables, I think, is what we got in. And I would have room for like one more, but the venue doesn't have any. So I guess I could, if somebody wanted to bring in a table, they could. Downstairs, there was one spot open because I put it up against the wall. So let's see. So let's go into the chat before we get into so and I guess I had one no-show. I reached out to him, a little bit into the show. I'm like, hey, are you running late? And he thought it was a Sunday show and not a Saturday show. A fairly new dealer, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It stunk, though, because it was in the main room, and not only did I have to take a table away from Sean, but Brady, who's a dealer, wanted a second table. He reached out to me on Friday. He's like, hey, can I get a second table? And ironically, the open table was right between Sean and Brady. So it's like, could have been there. And that's tough, because by the time the show's going, and it's, some vendors arrive late, and I try to say, hey, definitely get there before 9, because it starts getting busy by 8:30. So, by 10 o'clock, it's not like I can, fill that spot. So let's go into the chat before we talk card show, Madison Card Show. Let's see. I think we started back at Rich Bo. Jenny says, I figured I don't have enough for combined shipping on those, but they do. Rich says, Bo's crowd was so big because Singles Club was there to sign autographs. Sorry about the Bo, but those apostrophes make me hit enter. Zach says, hoping to hit up the LCS and sit down with a bunch of dime boxes. Porter will be going golfing with Grandpa. Had a very stressful week, and I just want to veg with $5. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about not really stressful weeks, but just how cards and conversation can be really good therapy. So because I had a great experience as a customer at my show yesterday. Jenny says, okay, I have a prediction from last night. Thought Bo's show is a collector show more than national. No offense to national, but it's a lot of high-end stuff. It's not. It's the national has both. Like, the national has everything. Like, there's enough of everything. The national has amazing bargain boxes. Amazing bargain boxes. That's why I go to the I mean, now that I've met so many awesome people within the hobby, now I think when my first national in 2019, it was more about the cards than the people, because I knew, and I guess by 2019 I had really started to meet people, and wearing my sign, it's like I started meeting people that I didn't even know, or I knew of, kind of knew of them. So that's kind of, I went into the 2019 national just, I'm going to buy a bunch of cards. But then, by last year's national, it was a combination of three things. It was people, Cubs cards, bargain boxes, and now this year in business, it would be an emphasis, well, people, but also bargain box cards with, Cubs cards probably wouldn't be, this year, had I been going, if I were going, I wouldn't be buying Cubs cards. Next year may be different. We'll see how close I am to 1 million Cubs cards by next July when the National returns to Chicago, and I will be there for the duration of the Chicago National. Ken says, speaking of annoyances, our central air has been out 36 hours. Yay, Texas summer. That blows. No pun intended. Apparently it doesn't. The AC, that is. Good luck, Zach. Let's plan a time you, Bo and Porter can make a guy's trip over to Minnesota. I got a shop we could dig boxes all day. I gave Hux a shout out on my video yesterday. You need to check out the 1959 tops he picked up at a card show yesterday. Also a great follow. Very cool. Low roller scratcher in the house. Let's see. Jenny says low roller in the house. Perfect. He can let us know what those dollar box cards Bo listed and if they sold yet. I think I only listed 5 cards. Low roller can probably give you the lowdown on what I listed. DR says, have you ever thought about printing t-shirts with a 2023 Madison Card Show schedule on the back and give them out to your dealers, kind of like how bands do concert tours, guerrilla marketing maybe? Yeah, so actually I talked with the Graffinino guys. They run a print shop. So I do want to do Madison Card Show shirts. I want to do some other marketing materials. So I've been not, I haven't been as proactive. I think that's my word of the day, proactive. I haven't been as proactive with that. Zach and Porter says, low roller is Norm from Cheers. The show hasn't started till he drops. Rich says, Bo is a sushi guy. I thought all those Midwesterners use this term for sushi bait. I'm not a fisherman, and I love sushi. Love sushi. Let's see. Low roller says, you sold more basketball cards. You need more restock basketball since you got new inventory from the Goodwill pallets. Thank you, low roller. Jenny says, get on that basketball listings basement card collector in the house. Zach and Porter drinks black coffee, and about 1 in 10 coffees from a DT is some sweet and creamy sort of deliverable that I ended up pouring out. Only happens at McDonald's, which is $1, so I will love. Zach adds, excited to watch the Dollar Box and Bo collaboration project. Like Method Man and Red Band. Sorry, my genre of tunes. I'm active this morning on Messenger. Love it. Love it. Jason Star of the Day. Zach says his body is breaking down. Let's see. Low roller. Let's see. Does talk card show talk. And he says, if you do a trade show night, is it free? So you don't have to pay anything for a table. You can start selling your cards on trade nights. Yeah. So typically trade nights, it's a free for all. Customers and basically everybody's a dealer at a trade night. So it's something I'm looking at for in the fall. Summer months are just a little different. And may have I talked to a couple people about some bigger collaborations. So I'm still like hesitant on various things. But we'll see what comes about. Speaking of hesitant, I did something for the first time. Dan and I are walking to Old Fashioned yesterday. I'm like, Dan, I did something I've never done before. Can you guess what it was? And can you guess what did I do? And if you watch the show every day, you may have an inkling of what I did yesterday. I did something for the very first time. Never done it before. Despite wearing an SGC hat to most card shows, I finally made a submission to get cards graded. Never have I ever graded cards until yesterday. I subbed with my friends 5-star cards. So I did a 5-car sub to SGC. I submitted a Cracker Jack Joe Tinker, a T206 Joe Tinker, and a T205 Joe Tinker, a T202 Hassan Trifold of Ed Ruleback and James Archer. And I can't remember who the player in the middle is on the action shot. And then the 5th card was an Ed Ruleback T205. So those were raw cards that I wanted to get slabbed. The Joe Tinker T206, I have some questions on its authenticity. So, I showed Matt from 5-star, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it because the front looks a little off, but the back looks legit. But it could have been doctored. But it's also a Joe Tinker T206. And I've had it for several, probably three or 4 years now. So I don't know. And it was kind of like a throw-in from a trade from, when I was doing a lot of trades, Cubs trades. And the person who traded it to me deals in a lot of higher end stuff. And he goes, he also said the same thing. He goes, I think it's legit, but I'm not, I can't guarantee its authenticity. And that's why it was just kind of a throw-in. So yeah, I subbed my first submission to SGC. So I'm excited. Basically, I don't care about the grades on these. And they're all pretty, banged up, beat up. The only one that would be probably more than a 1 would be the Hassan Trifold. Maybe it's a 2 or a 3. Yeah, so I wanted to get those just in slabs. And of course, I love SGC, especially when it comes to those vintage pre-war stuff. So that was my first sub ever. So I'm excited. Basement Card Collector says next year will be my first national. Pretty pumped. That is awesome. Ken, with that heat, how are the pups doing? AKA the real important people in that house. I would completely agree with that. No offense to Ken. Sorry, Ken. But I like dogs more than people. Cooter, what is up? Good morning, Cooter. Method Man and Red Man are great. Rockwilder still gets me hype. Mike is in the house. What is up, Mike? Jenny says, I don't know if I need to, but I'm spreadsheeting my ComC cards and putting them with prices to price under all the others listed. Got to be the best price, right? That's a great strategy. I've never subbed to ComC, so I don't know if that's a good strategy, but I would think the way it's set up, that would be a good way to go. Zach says, walked on a horizontal ladder, ? I don't know what that's in regards to. When I'm not listening to YouTube or podcasts while working, I have a bunch of Kevin Gates on repeat. Rap is the best eBay listing genre. Tinker for the win. Where are we at? Zach Porter says, congrats. Was really hoping it was a horizontal ladder walk, but I guess grading is cool. Oh, Zach was guessing what I did for the first time. You have to tell Ty that he can't ask you that question anymore about never grading. I know. It's no longer an evergreen topic. He's sold 80,000 cards and has never graded one. I just sent off my first PSA submission. Ken, wow. Is hell freezing over? We've all been standing away from subs, and here we are. Let's see. Jenny says, if Yordan Alvarez serial number of 415 is 738 on ComC, what would you price in of 139? There's none listed, but I have one. That's a tough call, and I don't know on ComC. My apologies to Rich. I've rarely go on ComC. I just stick to eBay for comping and all that. I probably should add ComC to to the repertoire, especially when it comes to if there's nothing listed. That's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because sometimes when there's something not listed on eBay, I just make up a price. That sounds backwards, but I do. But I should probably go to ComC and see if there's anything on ComC. Possible title for the graded card unveiling: Tinkering Around with Grading. Dan gets today's star of the day. What a great title. I love it. Let's see. Jenny says, I like dogs more than people. Good thing my dog is always in the room. I will crack a few slabs this week to offset you going over to the dark side. The hobby must stay in balance. I'm trapping 5 pre-war cards in plastic. Ken says, I got 2 fans in the room with my pit. My pointer is up front with 2 fans and a window unit, and the small dog is in with us. No offense taken, asking about only about the pups. And now that hopefully you're doing okay. The pups are okay now. Hopefully Ken and wife are doing well. Let's see. Rich says, Jenny, look for similar cards in the set with that print run. Oh, that's a great plan. It's a great idea. Ken says, but it's still true. You've sold all those cards, but never graded anything to sell, work, and PC or different things. There you go. That is true. Like, these 5 submissions are not to be flipped. They're going to stay in my Cubs PC. So that's a great point. Let's see. Jenny says, hell is freezing over. I guess you and Ken submitting cards to PSA. I'm submitting cards to ComC. Yeah, Jenny is submitting to ComC, Ken to PSA, me to SGC. Baseball Card Illustrated says, had a great time at the show yesterday. Very well run. Would love to set up again. Thank you. That's by the way, that's Aaron. Baseball Card Illustrated. Appreciate you coming out. Hopefully you can make the August 27th show, and I'll follow up with you and we can get you set up again. So hope you had a good time and great sales. Bearded Bookworm, I've run into the issue of no listings on eBay or ComC. Just had to look up for similar cards in the set to guess the price. Rich says, and hopefully Crystal is doing okay. In all seriousness, now that grading costs are getting back to normal, we're all able to send cards in again. Absolutely. And, and that's the thing with me. I probably would have subbed. Well, I said I don't know if, I probably would have subbed earlier. I had subs ready to go, but then it's just like there was all this, and then all of a sudden it was like and it was more of the time. If I wasn't getting these cards back for a year, I'd probably be a little more hesitant to send them in, just because it's like, I don't want them, even though they've been, and this is like, I'm arguing with myself over this, because I realize it's irrational, my thinking process on this, because it's like, I don't want to send my cards away and have them at PSA, SGC, name your grading company, for a year, but yet they were literally in one of those boxes, I think one of those flat rate boxes. And they've been there for 6 months. And before that, for 6 months, they were in a box somewhere else for a year or two. So it's like, I don't it's like, I go back and forth with myself. And then, the pricing now, I've got to keep the personal collection cost down. That's why I only sub 5. I have 50, vintage cards that I want to submit, but 50 times 25 is a lot of money. And this is personal collection. And it's not even adding to the collection. It's just encasing some. But I did want to get them slabbed. So, just wanted to take that plunge. Let's see. Ken says it's cheaper to sub Earnhardt's than to buy them already graded. Interesting. So what else? Madison Card Show. I haven't even really reviewed the card show yet. But I did do my first submission at the card show with 5-star cards. Check them out online. I think we're going to do a collaboration. We'll put my StreamYard subscription to work, and I'll have Matt and Masood on from 5-star cards, and we'll talk about the process, and it's a super smooth process. And they're at not just the Madison Card Show, but they do other shows in Wisconsin, and I think even in Northern Illinois. So do that here in the future. Let's see. Baseball card basement card collector says, I get it. It just keeping cards in one box or another or in a binder. Victor says, congrats to Kin. Logan will be proud of your submission. Godspeed on that AC. Paul, waiting on SGC to get a $10 again. Works if there's sub $150 value in PC items. Yeah, it would be nice. It's still, what, $25. But I figured with my, with those PC items, it's worth, getting them subbed. So got that. So, the first thing I did, so I talked early, I talked to the first few minutes of the show. I talked about how running the show, I'm becoming more efficient. I'm learning different things along the way. And I think what I learned, what I've learned over the past few months, overbooking is good until this month. Because it prevents, I may be 5 oversold, but then by the day before I'm back to even and I don't have to go chasing down. And at that point, if somebody was on the waiting list 2 or 3 weeks ago, they likely made other plans, especially in the summer months. So I think that's something that's made me become more efficient. The prepay for first time is more efficient. So just finding those efficiencies. It's also allowed me to do a little shopping, early on. So I'm not, running around. And I wanted to hit that 5-star dollar box. So I did, and I left all my cards upstairs. I didn't have as good of luck in the dollar boxes this month as I did in Janesville a couple weeks ago or at the last Madison show. But I pulled I think a 72 tops Yastrzemski. And it's got, soft corners but for $1 and they gave me great deal. I think I got 75 cards. I can't remember. I got 60, I think $60 for 75 cards. So what's that? 85, 90 cents a card. So I pulled that. I pulled like a pitching leaders from like 66 or 67 of Sandy Koufax. There was a Mac Jones, absolute rookie in there. A Derek Jeter, which Jeter has been selling really well with that documentary out. One of those like commemorative patches. Now, it was early in the show, and I didn't want to spend too much time, and I actually didn't circle back. So I didn't really look through. I may have had better luck had I looked through other boxes, and I only focused on baseball. But I got 75 cards, $60, and I think I did well. No big, huge winners out of the dollar boxes, but a lot of base hits, basically. A lot of base hits. And then we'll just stay on the topic of dollar boxes. Adam from the Dollar Box on YouTube was in the house. And, I had mentioned he had mentioned he was coming down to the show. And I said, we need to do like a dollar box challenge. And neither of us really had an idea of what that would really consist of. So we kind of just talked it out at the show yesterday. So it's like, how are we going to do this? And so basically we decided we'll do a budget and a time limit. So I don't want to give too much away because I've got a couple clips of my side that I'm going to send over to him. He's going to do some editing. So maybe by the end of the week, he'll have it up. So it'll be on the Dollar Box Challenge, on the Dollar Box channel, the Dollar Box Challenge on the Dollar Box YouTube channel. So basically we had a $20 budget and 30 minutes. So I'm not going to spoil anything else. You're going to have to watch the video. But it was a lot of fun. And it'll probably come out in the video. We'll likely do it again, but we'll change some things up for the next one. So that's all I'm going to share because I don't want to give it away. You'll just have to tune in. So if you're not subscribed, check out the Dollar Box on YouTube. Great channel. And he basically does the same things I do when it comes to bargain boxes. So check him out. And then later this week, there'll be a video. Speaking of, and this is non-card show talk, but speaking of YouTube, tonight at 7, I think it's live. I'll be on with AIH here on YouTube. And he has great content as well. So check out AIH. And that's at 7 p.m. Central tonight. And I think it's live. So if not, subscribe to his channel anyway. So before I move on to the Madison Card Show, let's check out what people are saying in the chat. Jenny says, my new LCS in town will submit cards for me for $10 a card to any company. Holy crap. They're losing money. They've got to be losing money on that. Let's see. Zach says that price seems pretty reasonable. It's I mean, the cheapest PSA is $18. In SGC, I think is 25. Let's see. Even at bulk pricing, I don't even know if there's a bulk subber that's doing, maybe 23 or 24 for SGC. I think 5-stars at 21 on the PSA because they have the $3 fee on top of the 18. Let's see. Ken says, thank you, Victor. The repair dude is working on it now. Let's see. Jenny says, is PSA $18 for just average sender? The guy that subs for them is from Wisconsin and does like 20,000 subs a year. Oh, I wonder if it's the I still don't know how he's making any money on $10. So the PSA $18 is like the cheapest, and it's like it'll probably be a year before you get your cards back. There's some other, when they first unveiled it, it was only like certain years, but I think it's open to any year now. And of course, it's got to be under a certain value. So you can't send a Michael Jordan rookie card in for $18. It's got to be under whatever value is. And I'm not the person to speak on PSA grading. I just kind of know the essentials. Victor says it's probably $10 over cost. Or maybe, did I read Jenny's comment wrong? So I'm just wondering. So I wonder if it's a $10 charge on top of the grading fee. Let's see. Victor says it's probably $10 over cost. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So like a 5-star that sets up at my show and does subs, their PSA is $3 over cost. So it's like $21 to you. Let's see. Basement Card Collector says, thanks for the show. I've been listening for a while, but now my coffee is all gone. Catch you next time. Well, thank you. Fill up that coffee. I think that's something that I've learned over doing this show. I think I'm going to have to at least put a coffee maker in my basement, the new house. Of course, I could probably do that here. I should probably just buy a cheap coffee maker I don't want to plug it in here because the coffee makers can like spill, and don't want to do that here. Anyway, but hey, speaking of that, I came down. My wife didn't even tell me. Must have been the second part to my anniversary gift. I walked into my card room because I didn't even come downstairs last night. And I think it was Nick, who sets up at my show. And shout out to Nick. I know he watches, not all the time. He goes, man, you talk a lot. Yeah, that's my thing. He goes, but sometimes he listens. He'll listen when he mows. But he's like, yeah, I can't listen for like for an hour. So shout out to Nick. And where was I going with that? Oh, so I was telling Nick, and so this is what I wanted to talk about with like cardboard therapy. So Nick had some awesome dollar boxes. And so I was digging through the dollar boxes, and I was sitting next to a guy, Midway Nate. Shout out to Midway Nate on Twitter. So Nate was sitting next to me digging through some baseball. He's a Bowman guy. And I was way off yesterday. Here I am submitting my cards for grading, and I was avoiding Bowman baseball and digging through football dollar boxes. The world was upside down yesterday. So Nate's digging through some Bowman boxes. I'm digging through football boxes. Nick and I and Nate, we're all talking, and I'm like, yeah, after that, I don't know how it came up, but I said after the show, like, I like just go home and drink a few beers, and like I don't even do cards. And I guess last night I sometimes I'll like look at my dollar cards because it was early in the day when I was digging through some dollar boxes. So I'll look through and look at the cards, and then I'll look to see, did I get any like really valuable, higher than $1 cards. I did list, maybe 5 on eBay last night, but it's like, usually I just, but it was really cool. And we had a great conversation. We were talking about just Bowman. We were talking about football. We were talking about Bowman U. We were talking about wrestling and Vince McMahon retiring. And it was for like 30 minutes, just sitting there looking at cards pulling out some dollar cards, and having a fun conversation with like-minded collectors. Just nothing beats that. And that's what I love about a card show. And that's what I wanted to bring to Madison because we didn't have that before. We had a very small show. It was limited to like 15 tables, 20 tables. It was in a really small room. You couldn't even, there wasn't room for you to dig through bargain boxes. There wasn't room for like two people to walk. And it was basically, it was around, it was kind of a square in this rectangular room. And then you walked on the perimeter but like, if you get a couple big guy, only one big guy could walk through. So there was not even a place to like sit down. You couldn't even sit down. You could barely stand up and look at cards. And that's what I wanted to start a show. Like, I want to create a show where people can come in and dig through bargain boxes because that's what I like doing. And I wanted to do that. And, so now we have that, and it's fun. And I was even able to take advantage myself and just spend 30 minutes talking cards, looking through cards, buying cards, and it was awesome. So that was the cardboard therapy show. Did I? And I totally skipped. So we're talking, and I totally skipped the point that I wanted to make. I come downstairs this morning because I didn't even come downstairs. My point was, when I come home from the show, I just get a couple beers, lay on the couch, look at my cards, crash. And then I come down and I do the card show review on Sunday morning. I come down and it's like, there's no trash. Like my garbage can was overflowing. I had trash all over the floor, like the labels, and I'm just throwing them down. My desk, which is just a Costco folding table, strewn about. And I come down, the trash is empty. The floor is clean. My desk is clean. I've got new shelves. It's organized. My wife came down and did that for me yesterday. How about that? So that was awesome. Boom Slang in the house. What is up? Let's see. Where are we at? Ken says, I'm thinking what Victor said. Jenny says, maybe because we are a town of 5,000 people and they just opened a few weeks ago, they're maybe trying to bring in business. Let's see. Zach says, does that dealer turn them into an NFT and you never see them again? Seems too good to be true. I understood it as $10 total. I'll ask again today. Going to stop by. I go every day. Now that's awesome. Low Roller, talking about Beckett grading. Boom Slang in the house. I think I already said that. Jenny says maybe one of those hot dogs of Costco deals, trying to get people in the door. And then once build up a customer base, get leveled out on prices. Zach says you do not want to plug anything else in downstairs. Your Wi-Fi signal thanks you in advance. Probably true. Ken says the $18. Oh, where I skipped. $18 is for cards with less than 199 value, which of course is not like a concrete set in stone value. Let's see. Basement Card Collector says coffee, basements, baseball cards, winning. See you next time. Jenny says, oh, yes, that whole value thing where no one knows how we really are valuing cards. It can change by the day. Pepino Man in the house. What is up? Jenny says, I think your bride also displayed your Bowman U boxes. They look angled on the top row of the second shelf. Yeah, I think one fell backwards. Either that or she came down and wanted to rip some cards. That wasn't the case. So where are we at? So I talked about my first submission to SGC. I talked about dollar boxes. I talked about the dollar box challenge. Let's just talk about the show. So the show, I went in thinking, and I was wrong about two things. The first thing I thought wrong about was that the National will have zero effect on the Madison Card Show. The reason I thought that going into the show was because last year, the National was in Chicago, Rosemont, which is from the Sheraton Hotel on John Nolan Drive to River Road in Rosemont, Donald Stevens Convention Center, basically an hour and 50 minutes, if there's not terrible traffic in that area, which there isn't. Traffic's pretty by the, between Rosemont and Madison, there's, not going to be much travel or traffic issues. So, call it 2 hours. And last year, last summer, the Madison Card Show was held the same weekend, the Saturday before the National began. And I talked to people, like, I was shocked. I went in last year thinking the National was going to have a huge effect on the Madison Card Show, especially because it was in Chicago, Rosemont. And I bet at least 80%, if not 90% of the people I talked to, both dealers and customers, said they weren't going to the National, which was just a 2-hour drive away from Madison. Just to put it in, give you a little perspective, the Madison Card Show has grown 3x since last July, if not more, because probably 4x actually, because I think my July show only had 30 tables. Yesterday's show had 122. And I'm sure traffic has grown for probably 4x on traffic from last July. So, and there, there were some people like Johnny, who was still co-promoting with me at the time in July last year. He was going to the National. I know one of my dealers, Matt, who does a lot of buying, he was going to the National. They were looking for stuff to take to the National. So there was a very small, but that was about the only talk, national chatter. So I'm like, well, this year it's in Atlantic City. It's planes, trains, and automobiles to get from Madison, Wisconsin, or the Midwest to Atlantic City. It's no easy trip. So I'm like, it's going to have no impact, zero impact. And I say this, basically 1% of collectors go to the National, or even less than 1%. So I'm like, it's not going to have much of an impact. Boy, was I wrong. And I think when I say that, thank you, earlier this week, somebody mentioned, because I was trying to think of the 80-20, somebody chimed in the Pareto principle. And I think it was, and I think yesterday is part of that principle, where I think 20% of the buyers, or probably 10% of the buyers at the Madison Card Show yesterday, provided 90% of the revenue for the. There were some big time buyers, and a lot of my sellers, a lot of my dealers at the show yesterday were, like, I sold half my table. I made, this was my, I posted the walkthrough video on a couple of the local Facebook collecting groups, and a few dealers, 3 or 4, as of last night, chimed in, commented, this was my best show of the year. In July, 3 days before the National begins, 4 days, whatever it is. I was amazed. And I do know who one of the buyers was. I won't name names, but I will share that if you were at the Wisconsin Dell show, or you saw pictures online of the showcases filled with Babe Ruth Gaudies and Mickey Mantle rookies and early cards, that was him. He was at the show, and I've messaged back and forth with him over the past year about the show. This was the first time I know he's had, some of his, he's had people come to the show in the past. This was the first time I actually saw him, and he was there all day buying, and he was buying a lot. And so that was awesome to see, and awesome for my dealers to be able to make some big sales and have great shows. I was absolutely shocked at the reports from most of my vendors, and I think you'll always get, and then I think the reason I'm shocked is because normally when you talk, even if you're just at a show and you ask the guy next to you, like, hey, how'd you do today? I did okay. Like, okay is like the standard. Okay is the standard response to a show. And I always set high expectations, both as a promoter. I'm always wanting more people in the room. As a dealer, I'm always wanting to make more. And when I reach my sales goal, I want, it's like, what could I have done to make more sales? So I'm always thinking about that. Well, what if I was in a different place in the room? What if I had dollar boxes instead of quarter boxes? What if I brought my supplies? And, sometimes it's just not the day. And sometimes you can get an awesome turnout and not have an awesome day in sales. And sometimes you could have an awesome day of sales with a low turnout. It's a crapshoot. And I think I was talking to Aaron, Baseball Card Illustrated. I think I was talking to him at the end of the show yesterday. And it's like, it was Aaron. He was talking about, he mentioned everybody was looking for Ryan Sandberg cards. And it's like, and then you bring Ryan Sandberg cards to the next show and nobody wants them. And he mentioned, I think, Greg Maddux. He had the last show he did, he had like 10 Greg Maddux rookies and he sold 8 of them. And then yesterday, nobody even looked at the 1 or 2 he had left in his showcase. And it's card shows are strange like that. And the best shows I've had are a mix of slow traffic where, maybe I don't make my sales goal, but I'm able to walk the room and make some great buys that would have been, say I only hit 50% of my sales goal, but I was able to walk the room and buy. I probably tripled what I would have made had I hit my sales goal just in what I bought to later flip. So card shows are funny like that, but it was great, and I had, a few people said, yeah, it was a good show or it was okay. But the amount of people that said it was amazing, I haven't had that type of response from dealers since probably January. It was very reminiscent of the boom times in the hobby when everybody was buying and because even starting as early as last summer, like probably after the National, right after like August, September, that's when we started to see kind of a decline where people were starting to feel the floor fall from underneath and prices were starting that decline and everybody wanted to, like, it was like a game of hot potato. Everybody wanted to dump and try to, okay, I need to get out of these bull cards, these Kobe White cards, and I want to try to get Ja Morant, and I'm going to go to Michael Jordan and looking for safer investments. Yeah, I said it. I said the I word. They were looking for safer investments. And I don't think I've seen, probably since last July, the type of buzz that yesterday's show. And I'm always hesitant to like get excited about these things and share these observations. But I always want to be a realist and transparent. And if I have a shitty show, I want to share, like, traffic was down, nobody's buying, everybody's buying raw instead of slabs. So I just want to share the observations. And, sometimes it's, like, man, it wasn't, nobody was buying. But yesterday, everybody was buying. It was crazy. Traffic wise, I don't think it was much different than the June show in regards to traffic. Maybe a little higher traffic than in June, but I don't think in last year's shows between June and July 2021, the June show, I had dealers just, I want to come out, but nobody was buying. And I think last June, I think that really started the decline, even pre-national, because people were doing things. Here in Madison, we really didn't open. We were still under some COVID restrictions for our April and May shows, and we still had the mask, mandate, most of last year. But people were able to get out and get on the lakes and travel and go to games. So I think that affected by the summer last year, that was starting to affect shows. And there were also many more starting to pop up, and even more so since. So yeah, but the difference between June and July last year was I had dealers like, hey, I want to set up. And then the customers, the buyers didn't show up. And it was kind of a down show as far as traffic. And then July came, and I thought going into last July's show, traffic would be down because everybody's either saving money for the National, or I'm going to the National, so why go to a card show on Saturday? And it was more heavily trafficked than the June show. And I would say traffic was maybe up, but not like significant by any means. But I think traffic was up. And, I think there's a misconception, and I've shared this before, where I think a lot of people that are in content creation that go to the National every year, I think they take for granted a very, very small portion of the hobby community goes to the National. Like less than 1% of people that are active in the hobby. And active can mean as little as buying a blaster box at Target once a month just on a whim, but that's still, you're active. So I think I'm just as guilty, but I'm not realizing that until now. And I think I myself was guilty of that, taking for granted when the National was in Chicago last year. Oh, everybody has to go to the National. But for me, it's easy. Chicago's easy. It's just down the road. And so now that it's in Atlantic City, and and now I'm like, my eyes are more open to, and I think it really started with last year's Madison Card Show, where even though it was just down the road, 80 to 90% of people that I talked to said, no, I'm not going. Well, it's 2 hours away. You're not even going to go down just to check it out, And I think we also take for granted that you can be heavily engaged in the hobby and not go to card shows. Card shows aren't for everybody. A lot of people hate crowds. I bet between, okay, so between, since I started promoting card shows, I'm obviously at many more card shows than ever. But let's go back pre-COVID. Let's go back to, what was that? Let's go to February 2020, and I did a card show as a dealer at the Madison show that was here in town. And I set up as a dealer in February, is like the last show before COVID. February 2020. I bet in the years, let's just use the Madison years. 2014, June 2014 to February 2020. I bet I went to, and that's how many, that's what, I'm going to have to use my fingers. I apologize. So June 2014, so 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, almost 6 years, I was heavily engaged and involved in the hobby. Very active, like way more than most. In those 6 years, roughly 6 years, I bet I only attended 5. I'm trying to really do some thinking here. 4 or 5 card shows in 6 years between 2014 and 2020. That's it. And I was 1 Million Cubs Project started in December of 2017. And I think those card shows that I attended, 3 or 4 were here in the Madison, the small Madison show. And then the 2019 National. Those were the only card shows I went to. And I think those that attend card shows, I think we kind of look through the lens of, well, everybody that collects goes to card shows, and that's just not the case. Let's go to the chat. Where are we at here? Pepino Man, we got to him. Let's see. Bearded Bookworm says she submitted the hits from the Bowman U-Box too. Low Roller says, does the Madison Card Show available Sunday? So there's no card show today. So it's just a one-day show. Madison Card Show, just a one-day show. I don't know if I'll ever expand it to 2 days. I mean, I've certainly thought about it, but I don't know. I think I like it the way it is. The only thing I would do is maybe do a Friday, do a Friday night trade night, and maybe with that, have the official hours be 8 to 3 instead of 9 to 3, which, by the way, I made a boo-boo on the Beckett site. A lot of people were like panicking that the show only runs 9 to 2. Well, that's what the Beckett website says. It's like, oh crap, I forgot to change that, because initially that's what the venue wanted me out by 3. But I've been running it till 3. So I want to change that back to 3 o'clock. And maybe do, a Friday night trade night, and starting an hour earlier at 8 a.m. But I really don't want to, I'm hesitant on doing that because I don't want to pressure, because I have a lot of out of towners that do drive the morning of. So 9 is they can get in at 8:30. I had somebody come in all the way from like Minocqua, which is 3 to 4 hours away. Like, I left at 4 a.m. I've got a guy, Dan, comes in from St. Paul, Minnesota. Several come in from Chicago, which is, 2 hours, two, depending on where they're at, 2 to 2.5. So moving it up, and I can't move it back any more than what it is. At this point, maybe I can, negotiate that in for next year if I feel the need to push it out another hour. We'll see how that goes. But that would also mean that here's the problem with, and this is another nuance. And I was talking with somebody yesterday about, promote. I'm like, there's a lot of nuances to running shows, and some are, location and money are the two obvious ones. And then tables is something that I really didn't think of until getting into it. But then also, one of the nuances, it's like, well, you should push it out and have it till 5 because I live, 2 hours away or whatever. And I can't make it, it's not worth it for me to get there, and it shuts down at 3. But I get good pricing because I can have it over by 3, and they can potentially, like in the June show, they were basically turning the room over as the show was ending, because they had another event. They can double book the day and have an evening event after the Madison Card Show. Holy cow, what was that? Top chat. Brian Adams. Thank you, my man. I really appreciate that. So that's a nuance where, if I, in 2023, like, okay, we're going to do a 9 to 5 card show, that would prevent them from being able to hold an event. So they would charge me more, because basically I'm taking up the whole day. I can get, kind of a discount by ending the show at 3, because they can turn it over and have another event at night. So that's another nuance where it's like, I don't have this, I don't have the freedom. There's little nuances. So, let's see. Paul says dealers were by and large way more realistic on price than 1 to 2 months ago as well. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I like to hear that. Mike says definitely a great show yesterday. By the way, my next show, I'm looking forward to being back behind the dealer table. I'll be in Rockford on August. Is it the 13th? It's Saturday, and I believe it's August 13th. I've got to check the calendar. August 13th, I will be at the Rockford show, the Northern Illinois Card Show in Rockford at the Rock Church on Harrison Avenue. I'll have all new quarter boxes, and I'll have a whole slew of them, bunch of new stuff. So come see me in Rockford on Saturday, August 13th. I'll also be set up at the Janesville Card Show the Sunday before Labor Day on September 4th, I believe, is that Sunday before Labor Day. So again, I'll also have some supplies, card savers and penny sleeves, both Rockford and Janesville shows. And then the next Madison show will be Saturday, August 27th. So I won't be. I had a lot of people like, hey, where's your tables? Where's your bargain boxes? And it's like, I don't think I've set up at the Madison show since February. It was the last time I set up as a dealer was, I take that back, because March I only did the one room and the hallway. So I did set up in March. So March was the last time I set up at the Madison show. And, my wife and I were talking about this, and she's like, could you set up, and, would it make sense? And I would make more money selling my, cards out of my bargain boxes than what I, charge for those tables. So like realistically, yeah, I can, make 2 to 3 times more than what I charge for those tables. But I can't man them. Could I? Maybe. But it would put too much of a strain that I don't want to deal with that added stress. It would have to involve like, and my mom is willing to come up and do that for me. And she's done it, in the past. Or like hire a part-timer to run my, tables. So it's, kind of one of those things. Actually, now that I think about it, I may have something in mind. So now that I talk it out, may have something in mind. Let's see. So thank you, Mike. DR says, Bo, I made my first 3 episodes on my new YouTube channel. It has been fun. DR, you have that wrench. My man, post your YouTube channel. And actually, that's an open invitation to anybody to post your YouTube channel. And if you don't have a wrench and you have a YouTube channel, drop it in the chat and just let me know, and I'll give you a wrench and you can post your links so we can all share each other's content. So DR, post your YouTube link, and I'm going to hit that sub and watch those videos after I end the stream, get another cup of coffee, and start my shipping for the day. Let's see. Zach asks, so when are you revealing the channel name? Dan says, Zach and Porter, I named the show Hobby Business. I have 3 videos up and 2 done in the hopper. Took your advice to just sit down and let it rip. Love it. That's the best thing you can do in my eyes, is just do it. Just sit down, start recording, and you're gonna learn more on the way. You're gonna figure it out along the way. Tracy says, one local card show in 1996 is all I have ever attended. And that's actually a kind of a common theme. And a lot of people that are involved on hobby Twitter, like they'll tweet like, I haven't been to a card show in 30 years, but they're well active in the hobby. So, I love it. I love to see the, those types, because it reminds me that, hey, not everybody's a card show person. Let's see. Zach says, I tried searching it, but it isn't giving me a channel, just videos with those names. I will have to find it and sub. Tracy says, I think I found it. Where are we at? Filter the channels. Again, Brian, thank you so much. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And let's see. Low Roller says, your first super chat ever. Second, I did get a super chat from Dollarbox. Dollarbox was my first ever super chat. So Brian gets my second super chat. That's awesome. Let's see. Leo says, summer of 69, Brian Adams. Pop that super chat cherry. Let's see. Mike says, yes, sir. Low Roller says, you got new inventory. I do. So yeah, I got a lot of new quarter box cards. Let's see. Zach and Porter says, I sent you a DM on Twitter with the show link. Rich says, I was in good form yesterday for those who did not listen. Yes, and I need to watch Hobby Hotline from yesterday morning as well. Low Roller says, did you find any Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, or other non-sports cards? Not yet. I haven't. So just a little update on the Goodwill palette. I mentioned to Dan as we hopped in my car, and I'm like, let's move some stuff around. I still have most of the Goodwill palette is still in my car because I just, time. It takes a long time to sort. So I did find it. I don't know if it might have been Friday night. I sat down and started doing some sorting, and I found some good stuff. I found some vintage hockey, like early set, like 1970 hockey. I found now I can't remember who it was, but a 1970 and like a 74 of like a Hall of Fame hockey player. And they're actually in pretty good condition. And they're probably the 70, I think, because I looked up comps on it, around a $15 card. But there were some 70 stuff So that was a fun find. It was actually in like a shoebox that I had. If you watched the Goodwill live from like Wednesday night or whenever I went on, it was actually in like part of that, and it's like it's taped. I'm not gonna go through this. It's just a shoebox with like some junk wax in it. And that's where I like there was mostly junk wax, but there was like some piles of 70s cards. So that was a fun find. Baseball Card Illustrated. We'll catch the rest of the video later. I'm off to American Family Field. Very nice. Milla American Family Field. Miller Park. I still call it Miller. Of course, it's only been a year. I still call it Comiskey. So that's about all I had for today anyway. So I just wanted to share. I was wrong about yesterday's, show. I didn't think it would be a buy. I didn't think buyers would be out and there would be so much transactions being done. There's the link for Dan. Thanks, Dan. I'll check it out. In fact, I need to copy the link. Or wait, no. Open in new tab. So I just got a text from the guy that I'm facing in fantasy. I picked up, I had to stream like 3 or 4 pitchers this week, and he texted picking up 3 starters off the scrap heat the last 2 days for 3 W's coming in handy. So I'm doing well in my matchup. Let's see. Dan says just figured out how to share the link. Paul says 95 degrees helped. Golf sounds way worse than a card show at that point. That's true. It was brutally hot yesterday. And I mentioned this to my wife when I got home, and Dan, I love heat and humidity when I'm like sitting at home and I can take a spotted cow out on my patio and just soak it all in. But when I'm like running back and forth, up and down, and then I walk out and that wall of humidity hits you and you've got to run outside, run back inside. And then it's like, and then you go into a stuffy restaurant. It's like, oh my God. But they did put us at the Old Fashioned. They put us in the back where the air was flowing. So it felt good. Didn't feel good, but it felt better than like the main room where it's like, please don't sit us here. I'll freaking pass out. So, but yeah, it was really, really hot and humid, especially for Wisconsin yesterday. So that's what I had for today. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great Sunday. Will I put any more content up? Let's see. I'll go live tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. I may do a dollar box video, like tonight or later this afternoon, to show off what I pulled out of the not what I pulled out of the dollar box challenge boxes. I'm going to save that unveiling for the dollar box channel. But I'll share what I pulled out of the dollar boxes yesterday. And I'm also going to make the first batch of pickles later today. I'm going to make some spicy pickles, and I may toy around with a new recipe for my Japanese cucumbers. Let's see. Leo says shows may be better now due to purchasing cards since the government is charging sales tax for online sales. I think that may have a little bit to do with it. People want to hit those shows. And that's actually something that I talked about, in January. Like, I think card shows are going to be pretty popular because people want to do those cash sales and try to avoid, that taxation. So, I think that's a big part to why shows continue to still be popular. But I am noticing that the cream is rising to the top when it comes to shows, and the more heavily promoted shows, the well-run shows, those are standing out and becoming more of a destination than some of the small shows that popped up and, may not be as well run, may not be as promoted. So I am starting to see and hearing from like other dealers, other people that have gone to some of the other shows where traffic is way down, sales are way down. So starting to see that. Low Roller wants another Goodwill palette video. May do that. If I do that, it'll be later this week. Content for this week. I'll be on AIH Sports tonight, 7 p.m. Central, AIH Sports on YouTube. I'll be on Hobby Hotline Tuesday night, so I'll share a lot of these same observations on Tuesday night's Hobby Hotline. My wife is also out of town for work on Tuesday night, so maybe I'll do, since Hobby Hotline doesn't come on until 8, maybe I'll do like an early Goodwill video on Tuesday night. So that's what I had for today. Thanks again. Hey, if you were at the Madison Card Show, thank you so much for coming out in a great turnout, great show. Catch me live tonight, 7 p.m. Central on the channel AIH Sports. Back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Central for Hobby Evolution. Have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll see you later.